Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Daphne Lage here. Join Nita Lanning and me on the Ragin' to the Vlogs show, where we talk about everything, nothing, and all the bits in between. Looking for hour-long conversations about indie comics, social media marketing, and crowdfunding, with the occasional rant and story time? Head on over to the Ragin' 2 channel on YouTube, Mondays through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern to join in the chat.
Hit the button.
Ed Gein, Demon Hunter, on Indiegogo. After a deranged demon escapes the bowels of hell, Satan is forced to send a damned soul back to Earth as a demon hunter. Armed with a sacrificial dagger, Ed returns to his old stomping ground to capture the demon before the universe is destroyed. Ed Gein, Demon Hunter. Issues 1 and 2 available now on Indiegogo. Prepare for the ultimate face-off.
Come get some.
We've crossed paths more than once. I've whispered in your ear, shown you harmless little temptations. I am unknowable, yet you know me intimately. But you can always know me better. Collected here are 20 twisted tales that will thrill, chill, incite, and delight you from some of the most imaginative minds your species has to offer. This exclusive Indiegogo printing of The Devil You Know Better will be limited and numbered, with signatures from Mike Barron and Hart D. Fisher. Stretch goals achieved for this campaign will add interior chapter illustrations by Stefano Cardacelli. The Devil You Know Better. Back it on Indiegogo today, while you still can.
Your favorite podcast, it's Critical Blast.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, myopic proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics, and I answer the phones for Critical Blast Consulting. Tonight, we are back into the world of crowdfunded comics, my more comfortable zone, where I can, talk with people about what they're doing instead of what I'm doing, because no one wants to hear what I'm doing. I don't even want to hear what I'm doing. And I've got to hear it because I'm the one talking. So go figure that one out. Tonight we are going to go take a look at Vigilant Fury, which is funding now on Indiegogo. And with us, we have half of that creative team, Mr. Anthony Gambino. Anthony, Tony, how do you go?
Hey, Anthony's fine, or just Gambino. A lot of people just say Gambino.
Gambino, I'm telling you, I'm going to start. He's got an offer you can't refuse, folks. So, yeah, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you? Nice to meet you. I believe this is the first time we're meeting in person.
I believe it absolutely is the first time, and I'm doing one swallow better than I was a minute ago.
There you go. Good for you.
That's the way to do it. So, man, I'm going to ask how long you've been in comics, but it looks from your wall like this is your life, man.
Yeah, well, kind of. I mean, this is this is Vigilant Fury, part of it. Whatever is done. I'm kind of using the animation technique of putting up sticky notes or post-it notes to, make sure the storytelling is concise. But yeah, I've been in comics since 2016. My day job, I'm actually a graphic designer for Marvel, so that was my first kind of foray into comics. And then, yeah, what happened after that? I went to grad school for illustration. I started in 2017, and then tail end of 2020, going into 2021, I put together a 2020 sketchbook because I really wanted to kind of start getting my name out there in illustration and comics. And I didn't really have any narrative art that I was proud of or that I thought was worth putting out into the world. But I had a bunch of other things that I could kind of put together and made a nice package of a book. So I did that. I crowdfunded that on Indiegogo also. It was successful. I had a lot of help, met a lot of awesome people in this community. And it led me to my first book, which I'm doing now and here to promote.
Very cool. So yeah, it's a special kind of art to do sequentials and tell a story through art. But what's the differentiation? That's a big long word for saying how's it different. What does a graphic designer do for Marvel that a cover artist or an interior artist doesn't do?
Oh, good question. So it's part of storytelling, but it's more of it's an instant piece of the story. So it's something that's supposed to be like very easily recognizable. We've done tests even before I started working there when I was in college. They'll give you little snippets, like just a corner of a really popular logo, and 9 out of 10 times you go, oh, that's the FedEx logo, or that's in comics, like that's the unmistakable Wolverine logo. So we do logos and ancillary pages. Like if you look in a book and it says, previously in Amazing Spider-Man, this and this happened. Here are the credits. These are the people who worked on the book. So our job is to kind of create things that are instantly recognizable and that fit the tone of the book to help drive the story just a little bit more. If we're doing our job right, nobody notices it.
Okay, but your stuff actually does go in the story then?
Well, before it and after it, kind of.
Okay.
It's more of an introduction and then a closeout.
I'm always learning new characters that work in the comic. That's because you get into crowdfunded comics, and like, need a writer, need an artist, we're done.
No.
And I've talked with people who've worked at Marvel before, and he's like, I forget what team it was, but it was like I was in the cleanup department. It was called something else.
Is it the bullpen?
It wasn't really the bullpen because I understand the Marvel bullpen, but it was a room of inkers. And It was their job to correct the mistakes of the other artists, or make the art pop. And they didn't get credit on the book as the inker.
So yeah, that's part of our job now in the bullpen actually. But in this day and age, it's all digital. Even if they are traditional inks, we can still make corrections in Photoshop. And we do that from time to time. It's nothing too extensive, but yeah, it happens.
Yeah, and it's amazing the stamp that an inker can put on a book. We've talked about this before. There was a 1976 Captain America book, and Jack Kirby did the pencils for the whole thing. But it was so behind schedule that they farmed out each page to a different inker, and it's like looking at a different artist every time you turn the page.
No kidding, every page.
Yeah, well, maybe
Whoa.
every 2 pages, but it was like it just changed drastically from one page to the other, and it's all Jack Kirby. But it was
That's
it was Jack
crazy.
Kirby and Joe Sennett, Jack Kirby and some other guy. I'll have to find it. It was the bicentennial special that they did. Um, and I keep talking about it, but I don't own my own copy anymore. I've got to get one back. I think it was one. I think it was that oversized one too, that giant size Captain America bicentennial special.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
the same size as the Superman versus Spider-Man book that they had out around the same time.
Nice.
That was fun stuff. But so this is something that you've wanted to do then, work in the comics before
Oh
you.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of I joke around with everybody like I'm the worst employee, the worst customer. Like I am notorious for having not seen a lot of movies or read a lot of comics, but um, I started getting into illustration and comics specifically when I was about 20, when I was in college. I started as a graphic designer, and then halfway through, I took an illustration course as an elective. And I had always drawn as a kid, but never like it was never presented to me that it's a possibility to have that and do that as a career. It was always just a hobby and something fun that I love to do. So when I took an illustration course, and it was all, looking at movies and analyzing frames for composition and lighting and characters and everything that goes into telling a story, I was enamored and I fell in love. And my professor was like, "No, like this is, you can do this and you can make a living off of it, and it's a profession. Like go for it if you want." So I was already halfway done with college. I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna switch now. So I double majored. I stayed an extra year, got a degree in graphic design and illustration. And the practical side of me knew, like, it's good to have the graphic design knowledge because there's a lot more job opportunities for that. At least more easily accessible jobs. Um, so I knew that would kind of help me, and I lucked out that the first job I got out of college was in the industry I wanted to be in. So it was a good start for sure.
Yeah, you talk about analyzing composition, and
Hmm.
there's so much in art, in the storytelling aspect of it, that readers don't realize is being communicated to them
Yeah,
uh, at a conscious level.
right.
But it's very very subconscious that the story is being communicated in the ways that the art's laid out. And it's like you said, if you do it right, they don't notice it. If you do
Exactly.
it wrong, it pulls them right back out, and they're like, "Wait, this is my brain's not wanting to process this," and it pulls them out of the
Exactly.
story. Um,
Exactly. Even the small. I was just talking. I think it was the other night when we launched, and I was on Julius's YouTube channel, and there was a page where in Vigilant Fury, where the main character goes from not having a knife in her hand to the next page having a knife in her hand, and it's a little detail, but I was like, oh man, I need to draw that in there. Like, where did she get this knife from? I'm sure people can figure it out, but I don't want them to be like, wait a minute, where'd she get that knife from? So I had to go back and I made some edits and I added a little panel of her picking up a knife. Like you're saying, it's those little things that people might go, wait a second, I don't want them to do that.
yeah, then you just add a little swoosh from her arm to her back pocket, so it looks like she just pulled it
Yeah,
out of there.
or that. Yeah, exactly. But it's those little
Yeah,
tiny details that need to be added.
yeah, you don't want to end up with Batgirl's bathroom again. That was. Uh, are you familiar with Batgirl's bathroom?
No, no, what is that?
As we talk, I shall find Batgirl's bathroom for you,
Okay.
and I will display this on the screen because that is. This is when the graphic designers at DC uh, left the room and said, "Intern, take over for us. We're going to go drink," um, because it was and the artist was I'll name the artist since it's all over the internet, Roger Antonio, um,
Oh yeah, okay.
and it's again it's well drawn, uh, it's absolutely well drawn, but it is a uh, nightmare. Um, there, I've got it. I'm going to blow it up a little bit before I share the screen because I want you to fully appreciate uh, the work that went into Batgirl's bathroom. And folks in this chat, I know we got an active chat here. We got Keely Chow, appreciate you here. Mike Walters, glad you're here. Frog G dropping links like nothing. Um, appreciate all your work. Here is Batgirl's bathroom. Now, as a graphic designer, I'm just going to let you look at it for a second, and then I'll start talking about it.
Okay.
you're seeing things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, where does that door go? And does anybody ever get to use it? Who laid down that rug? Why does the shower curtain end at the end of the bathtub but not go around the edge? So many. This got roundly mocked.
That's so funny. What a quirky thing.
Yeah, it's almost like the guy said, like Roger was just saying, let's see if I can make one of these panels where it's like the highlights cartoon, where it's like, what can you find wrong in this picture, and see how many people can find it. It's very
interesting.
I mean, element wise, everything looks like what it's supposed to look like.
Sure.
It's almost like it was like objects were dropped out of an IKEA catalog and placed in there. They're all in perspective, and they all look like, you know, sinks and toilets and tubs and soap dishes. But that's it's going to be one of my favorites for years when it comes to this kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's funny. I know I'd never heard of that or seen it.
I'm going to close it down now because I don't want to close out the whole browser, because also on that browser I have yours and Julius's campaign, and
yeah,
you know, we definitely want to talk about that. Oh
yes.
What was that? What's Frog G's questioning? What was that under her? What is wrong with her leg? How is there carpet under the toilet in the tub? How does the door function? Why is there a plunger in the doorway? Well, obviously nobody uses the door, and yeah, her leg was a little bit wonky there. So how did you get involved in a crowdfunder project? Well, you know, you're working at Marvel. Would seem like that's sort of you know, does Marvel know?
Oh yeah, I mean, this is all a freelance basis. You know, this is all on my own time, separate from them. No, I mean, we're free to do our own stuff on the side, as long as it's not directly competitive. But yeah, no, they're supportive of that.
Cool.
Yeah,
good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
So how did you and Julius get connected here?
So a friend of mine and fellow creator, Rob Geronimo, creator of Blood Realm, I got a text from him one day, and it was just a link. I was a little apprehensive. I was like, I don't know what this is going to be. And I clicked on the link, and it was a link to Twitter, and it was one of Julius's tweets that he was looking for an artist for this project he had. If I remember correctly, I don't even think there were any details on the project. It was just that he was looking for somebody, and to respond to the tweet with sample pages. So I saw a bunch of people responding, and I was like, whatever, what are the chances? Like, why not? So I submitted 4 sample pages that I had done, and he DM'd me, and he was like, hey, your style is exactly what I'm looking for. Would you be interested in working together? We can talk more about the project. And we went from there, and that was it. I mean, we started working together, I think it was back in December now on this project, is when everything started. And yeah, it's been great. I mean, we get along really well. We have a great working relationship. Both very open to changes and suggestions, and I think we've helped each other make the story better in different ways. Yeah, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a very collaborative process. It's
yes.
Almost never the writer saying, here's my story, get back to me when you're done illustrating it.
Right, exactly. And one of the things that I loved about him right away, because he had worked with different artists before, and he asked me, he's like, do you prefer a really detailed script, or do you want something like just very loose and basic? And I'm like, don't give me anything. Tell me what happens, and that's it. Like, I want to figure everything out. I want to do the compositions. I want to determine how many panels it's going to be, all that stuff. It's like, all right, cool, yeah. No problem. So
yeah, I mean, unless you're Alan Moore, you don't really need to. I mean, because Moore was like, you know, the stuff in Watchmen is black magic. The what he did with panels that he described to Dave Gibbons. I mean, that whole Rorschach episode, chapter 5. If you open that to the very center panel, and if you've read it, you might recall it's the scene where Adrian Beat is knocking the guy who's trying to shoot him in the jaw, and it's a great big pool panel. The guy's falling over. if you lift the left and right page up and look down, the page on the left and the page on the right are mirror images of panel layouts to each other, but they're also mirror images of the action that's taking place in those panels. And
What?
that happens throughout and that happens throughout the entire book until you're holding all the pages up except page 2 and page 21, I guess. And that's just you can't consciously. I mean, if you got Watchmen nearby, grab it and just check it out. I'm serious. And it's a Rorschach, obviously, because left and right mirrored.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the activity is also mirrored, and how he wrote that. I mean, it's like spell casting.
Holy crap, that's crazy.
Yeah. So you've got to control panels then, but for your typical comic book fun story, it's hey, 22 pages. We got to get to the end of it by in the next 21. Make that happen.
Right.
The old Stan Lee style is like hey Jack. Okay, so Spider-Man's fighting Doc Ock. There's a bank and Aunt May's in there cashing her check. Go with it.
That's what I prefer.
Yeah, the old Marvel method. It's what what you work around.
Exactly.
So what about Vigilant Fury drew you into the story to where you're like, yeah, this is something I do want to work on?
Well, right away, Julius made it very clear that it's very dark and gritty, which I love. Now, I typically go for more fantasy stories, and this is very much rooted in realism. But what I liked was we're touching on something that doesn't really get talked about very much, but I think it's a pretty crazy issue, and it's something that happens around the world. And it's human trafficking. So that's a big part of the story. He sent me some articles for reference, things that were published articles in the news. And I thought that was really cool because, I don't really see too many stories, especially comics, about that. So once we kind of put all that together and he gave me the premise of the story, a central character who's kind of drawn from the likes of like Ellen Ripley or Sarah Connor. It's just everything he was putting together was something that I responded to, and knowing that a lot of it would take place in the dark and at nighttime, that was really fun to me because I knew I'd be able to get a chance to play with really high contrast and a lot of shadows and singular light sources, which I like to do.
So then the main character of the story is neither one of these two guys that we're seeing in the front, but rather the female in the background.
Correct.
In the shadows there.
Correct.
And so is Vigilant Fury her name, or is that just a tone-setting title?
That is the tone of the title. Her name is Angela Peretz, and basis of the story is that she goes on vacation to Miami, and it is there that she gets kidnapped by these human traffickers, and she wakes up on a container ship and realizes that she has to fight and kill her way out of captivity. So it's a badass action-packed survival story. It's basic in the sense that it's going from point A to point B, but what happens in between, it'll knock your socks off. And I'm really excited to deliver it.
See, I thought maybe they were wearing prison uniforms here. I've only got the one shot to go from, but they're on a boat.
Yes, that's actually a shipping or cargo ship uniforms.
Okay. So, but this would make a great movie because you've got a single setting. You've got everything's going to happen on the boat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. She's not going to be. Okay, so they've caught her. She's got to fight her way out. But how is it that she's able to do this? I mean, what did they accidentally knock out Green Beret?
That's what I can't disclose just yet. That's a little bit of the twist.
Okay, because she's leaving a trail of we'll say unconscious bodies, but
yep. But I'm glad you asked that question because that's the question that we were hoping for.
So she's somebody special. We'll go with that.
We'll leave it at that.
Is this a one shot or is this?
It is. Yes, it is a 84-page one-shot. Beginning, middle, and end. No sequels, no prequels, none of that. Yeah, we were deciding whether or not we wanted to do multiple campaigns for single issues, but I thought, we both thought that it would be better to deliver the whole thing in one story. Give people a nice chunky book, something they can sit
Yeah.
and read for a little while.
I just didn't know if she was going to be some kind of a continuing character with more adventures. That this was going to be her crusade, but
Right, right.
I do like one-shot books, and it's all done. I'm seeing smaller pictures here. I'm going to have to ask about it. I know I'm going to want to read this because I've got I've got his last book over here, the Ninja.
Ghetto Dragon?
Ghetto, yeah, the Ghetto
Joyce's
Dragon. I've got
last
the
book?
print of the Ghetto Dragon over here on my
Oh,
wall.
nice.
And so obviously I didn't have a copy of the book somewhere, and I read it and I liked it, so I know I'm going to like this.
Very
I'm
cool.
Are these pages from the book over here on the Gambino special?
Yeah, so the Gambino special, the offer that you can't refuse, is it's a copy of the book. It is 3 original sketch cards that are 2.5 by 3.5 inches, 3 pages from the book, 3 original art pages, and 1 11 by 14 commission, plus prints that we're doing too. So it's
Very
quite the bundle.
So this may be an example of a commission then, because
Yes.
I'm looking at an alien.
Yeah, that is simply there for examples, just to show people, what kind of a commission it could be.
Okay, because
Same thing with the sketch cards. No, there's no aliens in this story.
Because I was like, that's going to take a really unexpected twist.
No. And what you're looking at here is the first 8 pages of the story. It will be in black and white. We thought that would be best, and it fit the tone of the story. Kind of, homaging Frank Miller a little bit and Sin City and
Yeah.
that kind of story.
And it's not just black and white; it's black and white. There's
Yeah.
there's no monochromatic shading going on here.
Nope.
Is it as an artist? Is it
Mhm.
harder or easier to do black and white? Because you don't get to. You've got to be careful about how the lighting is going to be shown, how depth is
Right.
portrayed.
Well, for me personally, I kind of do everything with the thought that I'll be doing everything. So my pencils, my inks, I ink in a way that sets myself up for if I had to color it. And the way I color is kind of basic, mostly flat colors. So I try to do as much rendering or at least definition in the inks. So I prefer it. There's not much of a difference for me in my work if we're doing black and white or color, because the inks will be the same either way. But my main goal when I'm inking is to A, get some nice contrast, and B, make sure that the things that are supposed to be highlighted are highlighted and in focus.
Yeah. If I were doing straight black and white, everything would look flat. I wouldn't be able to communicate depth or dimension.
It took me a very long time. I'm still learning. I'm obviously, I'm not Frank Miller or Tim Sale here, but actually one of the things that helped me, believe it or not, it's funny when you find these tiny little bits of information that just make you go, oh. I was watching a Mike Mignola interview, and people ask him all the time, like, how do you light your pages? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking. I don't sit there and I don't light things. I just go, okay, what do I want to be in shadow and what don't I want to be in shadow? And I'm like, well, that's the same thing, but it's such a different way of thinking about it, and it kind of makes a lot more sense. So I try to apply that methodology to it when I'm working. And it's been helping, a little bit of practice here and there.
Just to change your perspective.
Exactly. Exactly.
There is so much black on these pages here because it's so dark, and it's supposed to be a dark story. These bottom panels here, we'll just go with this bottom middle panel here.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't it be easier just to have a black piece of paper and draw in white?
I get that all the time. And the answer
be soggy when you're first done with it.
The answer might be yes, it might be easier, but I don't know.
I guess, of course, this is probably digitally inked.
No.
Oh man.
No, everything's by hand.
Okay. Yeah, that page is a floppy dish rag until it dries out.
Well, to be fair, I don't use a brush and ink very often. It's brush pen and a lot of pens. And I don't know what you would consider. Where is it? I don't know where it is at the moment. But they're like those. It's kind of in between a brush pen and a pen, where it's like a hard tip.
Okay.
But it's a little bit bigger than a pen.
Almost like a fountain pen, I would guess. I don't know all the tools you guys use.
Sort of. Where is it? There we go. So this is just a regular Pentel pocket brush pen that I absolutely love. Very popular tool. Is that focused? Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
And then this is the kind of in-between thing that I was talking about. It's a Tombow pen.
Oh, it's got a kind of a slant to the tip of it.
Yeah, it's almost like I think it's actually considered a calligraphy pen. But it's almost like a marker pen.
Yeah.
But that helps for the, smaller areas.
So those things can only hold so much. How many pens did you go through on this page?
I think I definitely went through one cartridge for the Pentel brush pen because I used the replaceable cartridges, which are very handy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've gone through. I've had to do a few orders of those so far.
Art is expensive.
Yeah. No kidding.
Oh, and here's where we get the first indication that she's not going to go lightly into this. They've thrown her down. If it were 1977, I would hear the David Banner music playing right about this point. My eyeballs going white, and then it's time to dismember some bad guys.
Then the fun starts. Yeah, she is not your typical damsel in distress by any means.
And she gets that. Well, there's where she gets the knife.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying now. She definitely had to bend over to pick that up, and it had to be there. It's Chekhov's gun. You had somebody fire Chekhov's gun without showing it first.
Right. Right.
So did you have to redraw the panels, or was it like, there's white space here?
I did some redraws before we launched. There were a few things I wasn't too happy with from when I'd done the pages originally, but these two panels in particular are like brand new. I did them last week.
Okay. As a writer, rewriting is the necessary evil, and I hate having to do it. But all I'm doing is like highlighting a block of text and hitting delete and rewriting it.
Right.
I would imagine it's got to be even more irritating, painful. I don't know what the right emotion is to have to redraw something that you've already drawn because.
Yeah,
don't want to throw it out, but.
I mean, luckily, I think that's where my schooling helps a lot because my wife makes fun of me all the time, especially when we were younger and I was still in school. She's like, "Can you ever just work on something once?" I'm like, no. I mean, I redid everything. I was just used to it. So now it's come to the point where if I only have to redo a panel or two, that's a win for me. So, things are changing, but it was definitely good training. I don't mind it as much if I know that it's going to make the page better, and especially now, like it's a little bit more of a reward that I know is for a product that's going to be in people's hands. So it's definitely much more gratifying.
So all that action we saw comes before we get the title page.
Yeah,
this is where she finds out, she beat these guys who were going to rape her. And she turns on the flashlight and she finds out she's one of several people who've been picked up. And now the Steven Seagal story begins.
Right. Yes, exactly.
We've got more people in the chat. Crazy Matt is out there. Glad you're here. Woody, glad to see you too, man. Grant Laker just popped in to say hello. Hello right back to you. We are talking with Anthony Gambino about Vigilant Fury.
Yes.
And by the way, if you want to see more about this, the link to the Indiegogo campaign is right below the video. It's also pinned to the top of the chat. So you've got two opportunities to get to it. Definitely click it and click through and check the tiers. We're going to take a look at the tiers now. Yeah, so here's we getting some pencil and ink comparisons. Of course, these panels look nothing alike now.
Yeah, so this is actually for our stretch goal. Our goal is $3,000, and our stretch goal is 5,000. And what the stretch goal entails is the deluxe edition of the book. So it's an 84-page story, and if we make it to 5,000 and we are able to print the deluxe edition, that is an extra, probably about 40, 50 extra pages of all behind the scenes stuff, which as an artist I've always loved to see. I know there's a term thrown around, process junkie, that people consider themselves. A lot of people love seeing that stuff, so it would be like I said, 40 to 50 pages of character designs like this, process shots going from thumbnails to reference photos, pencils, ink tests, which you can see in this group of images here. Sometimes if I'm not 100% sure, I like to just throw a piece of tracing paper over the page, rough in some quote-unquote inks with the pencil, and then I can go from there. There's going to be samples of the scripts from Julius. It's a lot of fun stuff, and it gives people a good view of what goes into making a project like this.
I've got a graphic design question that I'm going to ask right here.
Okay.
Let's scroll back up to the main page. So you got almost the start of a 3x3 page grid here, and maybe it was a 3x3 until you redrew this section here with the knife part to have her picking it up. But since this is a 2/3, more than 3/4 of a page panel going across, why is this not a 2/3 of a page panel? What is done to the image? And I can tell something's done to the image because I read it differently.
Right.
But there's a panel break in between what's basically one shot.
Right.
What's the technique being applied here that causes that to be that way?
Well, initially you're actually right. It was 9 panels, all even panels. So I broke it up in that way because I wanted it to be concise with the panel layout. But then when I was drawing the panels and the actions into the panels, I kind of like the idea of having her first. So you see her action first because we're not quite sure. At this point, we think she's just kind of a captive. But then, we see her get angry. We see the foot. Kind of want to know what's going on. So I wanted there to be a bit of a break before we see the reaction, if you can call it that, which is the 2 guys getting knocked in the head.
Yeah, it definitely alters the pacing.
Yeah. Of
how the story is told. Scott McCloud would be able to go into this for a half hour, I'm sure, and explain why it works the way it does. But it does work. This the gutter, technical term, boys and girls, that's what that's called.
Yep.
Causes your brain to say, connect this to this in time, not as
exactly. Very good. Not a lot of people can articulate that the gutter is meant to be a space and time.
I've read Understanding and Reinventing, both those books, and
nice.
I still can't create comics because I can't draw. Now, I know a friend who's a graphic designer for a grocery store company. He does things like the characters on the generic boxes of cereal that are store brand.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, it's fun. He did a Disney comic book at one point because I was like, hey, would you illustrate something for me? He's like, yeah. He's like, what do you want? I was like, well, I don't know. What do you charge? He's like, well, I got $10K for this. I'm like, yeah, well, it's good to know you, but I could work with you.
Wow.
I forgot where I was going with that now. But anyway, I know a guy apparently. Yeah, what it was
the terminology?
He did a presentation to our Toastmasters group, and he was drawing stuff. And he's like, yes, you can draw. It's not a matter of talent. It's a matter of training. Yep. And the whole time 100%. We're all just kind of shaking our heads. Says, yeah, we believe you. No, I can teach you how to draw. I was like,
yeah, it's true.
Try.
The best quote I ever heard, and I don't remember where I heard it or saw it, was drawing is like any other language. So you would never say, I'm not going to not take a French class because I can't speak French. That's the point of taking the French class.
This is true.
So that kind of that helps.
Even
Again,
after the 2 weeks of French, you've got the people who are, voulez-vous français, and
yeah, there's
and the
that.
people who are like
but-
voulez Frenchy. You'll find the people who have the aptitude,
Right.
but you do first have to try.
Exactly.
So let's take a look at the tiers, because
Yes.
there's not that many of them, because I scrolled past them far too quickly.
Mhm.
Level 1 is the sketch card. Now this is, it's going to be an original drawing.
Original drawing, yeah. It's not just an Ape Sapien sketch card. That's just an example.
Yeah. $15
yeah,
for a
it will-
sketch card's not bad.
Yeah, I thought so. I offered this with the 2020 sketchbook campaign. It seemed to be really popular. People loved them. And I had a blast drawing them. So I'm looking forward to doing some more.
Now, are these all going to be random, or are they going to okay, you ordered a sketch card, who are you drawing? Is it?
So we're doing kind of both. If the person who gets the sketch card has an idea of what they want, or if they want a specific character or whatever, they can reach out either through the campaign or just directly on Instagram or Twitter and ask me for it. If they back it and we don't hear anything and it's coming towards time for fulfillment and I haven't heard anything, then I'm gonna do a character from the book. So at least it's relevant. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. And by the way, if you just want a sketch card, there's no book involved here.
Right. Yep. Because that was the other thing I found too with the last campaign. Some people just wanted the sketch card, and that's awesome. That's an honor that people would even want that. So
yeah, I've seen a new thing, and it makes perfect sense to me now that I've seen it. Kara Nicole, cosplayer, creator, singer, entrepreneur extraordinaire, hell of a businesswoman. She does these high dollar cosplay campaigns on Kickstarter and then over to Indiegogo. And what she did on this last campaign when I interviewed her was nothing short of genius. She has a $10 tier where you get nothing. It's $10, and you just paid for it's like when you go to the library sale and it's like you're walking in and they're like, here are your bags, $5 for a bag, and then whatever you can cram in the bag you get to take out. That's what she does. She's basically set it up to where here's your shipping tier, pay for that, and then you go to the add-ons and you just put in whatever you want into the thing until it exceeds the the $10 shipping level, and then it just kind of grows from there. I thought that's genius, because
Wow.
if none of the tiers fit, but there's something you want and you don't want to buy something just to add that thing on, just buy an empty sack.
Wow,
And then
that's
go
great.
put that thing in.
That's a really great idea.
It's a clever little loophole in the system. We're like, what did you put on this tier? Nothing. but it gets you. It unlocks the add-ons.
Add-ons. That's really cool.
So this is, by the way, this is the conceit on the tiers here is that they're levels of the ship. So you've got level 1, and then level 1B. This is where you actually get the 80-page book.
Correct. Correct.
Colored if we reach 15K. So,
yeah,
inking it as though you were going to color it, good idea.
Still a possibility. Yep.
Because you might have to. Are you going to be the colorist if that happens?
Yes.
Okay. I like it when one artist does the entire thing, because I think it stays true to the vision.
Yeah, me too. I'm a little bit of a control freak sometimes, so it helps me. But yeah, like I said before, everything I do, even if I'm not going to color it, I kind of have in the back of my head where I want it to at least be ready to color. And I enjoy it. I mean, I was a colorist on Spells and Superheroes, Gingerton or Mark Mulgrave. Yeah, I was a colorist on his campaign. He got me on board for that. Might be the colorist for another one of his campaigns coming up, possibly. So yeah, it's another facet that I really enjoy and that I've been practicing a lot more with recently.
Now, obviously, the cover has multiple colors in it. If you were to color the book, would you be doing like a full palette or a multicolor palette, or would you do more like a 300 kind of thing, or a Sin City thing, where it's like we're going to just color the red things?
No, it would be the full color palette, but more leaning towards a monochromatic. So not spot color, but a
Very
full
muted.
color but muted and monochromatic.
Gotcha. The level 2 here, you're going to get the sketch card and the book. And if you do that, by the way, if you haven't added that up, you're saving $5
Yes.
by getting both of them in one tier. So
Yes.
do check that one out. Level 3 is the commission bundle. This is where you get the book, a 9x12 original commission,
Mhm.
and prints. So
Yep.
I don't know what the prints are, because there's no picture of the prints. Is that like a
They are
cover or?
they are pinups from other artists that they're not completed yet, but
Oh, okay. So
we're
they're-
working on getting them finished up. But the 9x12 commissions we're treating kind of as like we are the sketch cards. If you have an idea and you know what you want, you can reach out to me and request it. If not, then I'll do a commission based off of Vigilant Fury.
Okay, very cool. Now this one's interesting because this is where comic book artists get to draw commissions. I guess comic book writers will write you a paragraph. I don't know if you commission them to, but as a graphic designer, you're putting your logo skills to work here.
Yep.
I have not seen anybody do that, so you can get a custom logo. So if you guys are out there thinking of doing a comic book and you haven't got your title logo down yet, but you got an idea, this is the tier for you. I mean, you're going to get an 80-page comic book and some prints out of it, but you're going to get a logo. Now, okay, I just went through a whole thing with voiceover artists, and I was like, because I'm doing an advertisement on broadcast streaming for the book that we're doing, the Devil You Know book that we advertised at the beginning of the show.
Cool.
And it was like, hey, here's my rate for 150 words. I'm like, oh, I'm at 147 words. That's a deal. And I click buy, and I put my 147 words in there, and then I get to the thing. By the way, if this is for commercial use, then there was like an extra $170 that was being thrown on there.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking now. Hey, here's your logo. Is there a commercial use clause?
No. I wouldn't do that. If you want to, if you're putting credits in the book, like the writer, the artist, if you want to put my name in there as a credit for the designer, that'd be great. If not, that's okay too. But no, I wouldn't do that.
That would be the decent thing to do.
Yeah, this is, we're all trying to help each other out in this indie community, especially someone like me. I'm just getting started. But yeah, I do have another skill to offer, and I'm glad you said that you haven't seen it before, because I thought it was something I hadn't really seen before in other campaigns. But yeah, I mean, this is the same price that I would charge as on a freelance basis, but you get an 80-page comic book out of it plus some prints, so it's also a little bit of a discount. And instead of
very cool.
Yeah, instead of hiring me as a freelancer, you would essentially be hiring me through the campaign and helping us out by backing it. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, because you guys starting off a comic, get your logo. Who knows? You may have the next Spawn. You might be using this logo well into the next decade here.
You never know.
Great thing. That whole thing happened to me at a convention where I knew an artist, and I was like, hey, I got this idea for an image, and I explained the image to him. And he's like, yeah, I got it. And he got his pen out. And I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about putting it on T-shirts. He's like, okay, now we got to talk again.
Yeah.
because
I get it.
do that. And I didn't know that.
Yeah. It is a thing. It is a stipulation. It is a subclause, whatever you want to call it. Usually when there's other forms of rights being used and other forms of monetization that are going to happen, then typically people are owed royalties or have certain rights to the project or the image or whatever.
Yeah.
But
it worked out where he just said, send me 5 of the T-shirts. I'm like, yeah, deal.
There you go.
And we sold 6, so he was 5 of the 6 T-shirts that we sold. I don't know. My stuff doesn't sell. I have all these ideas that are great in my head. They just don't go anywhere. Original art. This is the advantage of not going digital inking.
I could still I could send out artwork, which I really love doing. It's a really recent thing. it all started within the last year and a half when I had the other campaign, and I was on Rob Geronimo's show, Geronimo Draws, every week for almost a year, just about. And yeah, I sold some stuff from there and sold some stuff from on auctions from the sketchbook I did, and it's a really cool thing, and it's an honor that people would actually want to buy my stuff, and I actually enjoy the process of shipping everything, sending it out. It's something new and fun.
Yeah, I love shipping. It's a good
cool.
thing because I'm in the business of doing that now. But it's zen. It's like I go to the
so
doctor
satisfying.
and they take my blood pressure when I go in for the doctor. I'm like, okay, yeah, just wrap the cuff on. I just close my eyes and I'm folding Gemini mailers in my head.
Yeah.
My blood pressure drops. I'm like, yeah, I'm totally in the zone now.
It's true. I have a stack of really like nice solid cardboard in my garage for when I send out original art, because I make sure those things are fortified.
Yeah, people just love to have the original art from books. Doesn't even have to be a book you like. Just yeah, but it's the original art.
There you go. That's what I'm hoping people are looking for.
Well,
I hope they like the book too.
And then, of course, there is the Gambino special, $400.
Yes.
You get the 80-page book, all the prints, 3 pages of original art from Vigilant Fury, 3 sketch cards, and 1 11 by 14 original commission. 11 by 14,
Yes.
that's big.
Yeah, and that is the same page as the original art. So I'm drawing all these pages on 11 by 14 boards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So give it to me. I got my ruler.
There you go.
I'm like, okay, 11. So that's taller than a comic book.
Yep.
It's the width of it is longer than a comic book is tall, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
14 inches. Yeah, that's gonna be a big baby.
Let's do this. That has some spoilers.
Well, yeah, I'm sitting here trying to show a ruler, and you got pages of it right there in front of us.
There we go. There's the comparison. Ooh,
Yeah,
so, like that.
That's great. That's a good book too, by the way.
One of the best.
Are you reading that because of Tim Sale's death recently, or?
No, I have a shelf like just of my top 2 or 3 favorite artists. All his books are up there. I try to keep it all nice and organized, and every day his books just end up on my desk because I'm constantly looking at his stuff. I mean, he's we talked about before a little bit about like coming up with compositions and everything. He to me is my favorite. To me, he's the best at that. I love listening to the interviews he did, because he always talked about studying American illustration, like the Norman Rockwells and the Dean Cornwells and N.C. Wyatts, and really learning like the principles of true illustration before you apply it to comic book art, which there's a really great distinction there. And I think there's such a difference when the two are married, and it doesn't happen often enough. So I'm constantly looking at his work. I mean, him, Frazetta, Mike Mignola, Frank Miller, Eduardo Riso, these guys are cream of the crop.
There's a lot of people who are great draftsmen.
Yes.
And to me, they aren't great comic artists.
I agree. They can literally draw anything, and it blows my mind, but the storytelling is not.
Yeah,
listen, to each his own. I'm not knocking it, but
yeah. Clay Mann falls into that category for me. The man is a consummate draftsman. But when I was reading Heroes in Crisis, he'd draw like Batgirl and Harley in a scene, and like the dialogue is them yelling at each other, and the art is 2 perfectly shaped mannequins with dead eyes. I was like, there's just something he's not getting.
I see what you're saying. Right. Right. Well, that's one of the things I love about Tim Sale. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's very fluid.
Oh my God! I mean, there's so much charm in the characterizations of his characters. It's I'm a sucker for capturing that emotion. I'm Italian, so emotion it runs deep. But I'm constantly looking at it every day.
Yeah, it's great, some great stuff. We lost a big talent.
Yes,
comics.
It's been a devastating year for comics.
Well, Gambino, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Oh, thank you for having
It's
me.
been a fun discussion about about art and the process of it, as well as this new book that you guys are putting together. We'd love to have you back on. If you extend the campaign, you want to close it out or get closer to close out, hit us up. We'll make you a spot.
Thank you. I definitely will. Yeah, I love talking about this stuff, even if it's not about the book that I'm working on. But it's all part of the fun and part of the process. So yeah, I really enjoy it. So thank you so much for having me on.
You're very welcome. Anytime. Everybody in the chat, we appreciate you being here tonight. As I always say, we don't have a show if you're not here to watch it. We're just a podcast falling in the woods. And as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.